Hi. Welcome to It's All Comical for July the 16th, 2021. I'm Russ Phillips, your guy in Guam, at least for the time being. This week's, basically again, It's All Comical. I'm trying to sort of get in the habit, I think probably more than anything else, of doing a weekly video log, a vlog as it's known in the common parlance of 2021. And you'll have to forgive me, as I've said in every video since I started trying to vlog. And I feel like I repeat a lot of information from week after week. And hopefully maybe this one will be actually, in fact, a shorter video than some of the opuses that I've been putting out. Again, I recognize that as I'm speaking here, July the 16th in 2021, I have yet to really gain much of any kind of audience or following. And that's fine, man. Everyone's got to start somewhere. These videos, I think, probably at this point are more for posterity than they are really serving as a week-to-week ability to touch base and communicate with a growing fan base, really. Right, so, it'll be sort of, hopefully someday we're looking back and like, oh man, look at those funny first videos that he made way back when. The timing had less to do with really putting a lot of things out there than it had to do with this video. The weekly, getting into the weekly habit of posting these things started with my ongoing weight loss. So I'm kind of got, I wouldn't call it a muddled message, but truly, I'm a writer, communicator. It's All Comical, referring to writing for comic scripts, graphic novels. Still, I've got a graphic novel that I'm working on, and I'm hoping that sooner rather than later may have some shorter form webcomic project to really talk about, but I can't at this point in any great detail because it's more planning stage than it is, ready to hit distribution platform or anything. Again, that's sort of in advance of the big picture, which is doing the, I really see myself more as a graphic novelist than a short form comic script writer. But that's not to say that I'm not completely open to whatever opportunities are out there, and whoever responds to whatever it is that that I'm doing. I mean, there is a degree to which in all of this it's a bit about letting the market decide. So I started kind of with health and wellness as being kind of a focus for what I was going to be doing as a professional writer. And things have gone very well for my wife and her career, and it's given me the opportunity to sort of forego the the practical aspects of really having to put the pressure on getting an immediate income generated for our family, and be able to focus truly on where my real passion lies, and that's with creative writing, in screenwriting, and in a partnership, creative partnership that I've been bringing along since late October last year, which has gotten me thinking about doing screenwriting as well as comic and graphic novel work, which again I find the appeal is that they're very similar, very two versions of telling a story visually, and I think they have their separate strengths. I think that there's a reason for me to do both, and as a matter of fact, I think it's going to be a three-pronged thing, because have really decided, and I've talked about this a little bit, I think, previously, but I'm also kind of breaking ground on an actual novel, and that, again, very early planning stages, so not a lot to talk about, but it's really more adapting a screenplay that I really, really believe in, and maybe someday that'll get out there in screenplay form. But I'm sort of reverse engineering. I think we're all very accustomed to novels being adapted into screenplays, and they become movies, much to everyone's dissatisfaction who read the novels. And maybe someday I'll get into. I'll speak very, very briefly. Novels and screenplays, and if you're one of these people who are like, oh, that didn't live up to the book, never going to. And it's never going to, because the people who are making those decisions in real life about how, there's a number of things. One, they're not inside your head, right? So they're not making the same creative choices that your imagination is. And so it's always going to fall short of your expectation. The other thing is novels are hundreds and hundreds of pages. 300 pages is a short novel, whereas screenplays only run a minute per page. So essentially, again, in the modern world, if you're looking at a 100-minute movie, hour and 40 minutes, if you're looking at even a 2-hour movie, which is kind of long. Now, when you talk about movies that are over 2 hours, yes, the Avengers and a lot of these movies, there are movies now that are getting 2.5, 3 hours long. We've seen that in recent years. The Zack Snyder cut of Superman, right, being 4 hours, which is just an insane amount of time. That never would have been released in the theater. So that Zack Snyder cut is we're really indulging Zack Snyder to do whatever the hell he wants to. They never would have released that in theaters. And, that has to do with theater turnover, and there's very good, solid business reasons why, you do want to be able to have so many showings per day. It is a business. It does have to make money. But anyway, point being that, screenplays obviously, therefore, are much, much shorter. You've got to accomplish the same things with a screenplay that you do with a novel in a lot more of a condensed format. So it's shorter. They've got to make editing choices between, you can't include everything in the novel unless you try to do it, I shouldn't say unless. I mean, it really will never be that. But even sort of, if you want to get close to what a novel does, you really got to be looking at not really a movie and more of a mini-series. Right, it's got to be something that can go on for hours and hours if it's really going to attempt to explore all of the nooks and crannies of the landscape of a novel. So I am looking at doing something that's kind of backward in that regard, right? Or taking something from a screenplay and expanding it into a novel. But I definitely see that this one, of all the scripts that I've written, is one that maybe is ripe for that. And perhaps I can get it out there in novel form. And if I can get it, if I'm successful, and then it finds some audience there, then it may maybe then. It gets readapted back into a screenplay. Again, or maybe the screenplay that I've already written is sufficient for that. Who can say? That's part of the embracing the adventure. Which again is part and parcel of, what is it that I'm attempting to do again with this, the vlog, and again, I'm going to direct you over to medium.com. Look for me, Russ Phillips, on medium.com. I'm trying to, with articles that are not fiction, although, again, I'm thinking about doing some short form fiction stuff. Short form fiction likely will also remain in the horror genre, though I do love writing comedy, and my articles, what I write is, that's me speaking, and I haven't completely abandoned the health and wellness focus. It's just more that it's evolved into sort of a personal growth kind of a message, or positivity, really, and really I think that's, if I can do my little part to put a positive message, because let me tell you something, if you're stumbling across me here and you're like, Ew, positivity message. Hey man, I can tell you, I am firmly a Gen X. I am a reformed misanthrope. Again, roll back to the music of the 1990s. It was dark, and that was our Gen X. We were really, I mean, if there's a theme to who we were culturally in the 1990s, as Gen X kind of came of age, it was really about, questioning everything. And I'm not saying that there's not a value to that. Of course there is. And I'm saying I am that, and there's an essence there of like, there should be something more than empty consumerism. And so if we were reacting to things happening in the 1980s, the Reagan era 80s, if we look at that and sort of in an umbrella way say, there was kind of this empty consumerism of the 80s, and things were very plastic and superficial, and we moved from like, even music, for those of us that like heavier music, you think about the big, the made up, poofy haired, big haired, glam rock bands, right, of the 80s, and all of the pomp and circumstance and the showmanship that went into that. Is it completely without value? No. I think there's room for everything under the sun. I think that maybe that's part of my personal evolution of looking at things, is saying, sometimes it's cool to be really entertained by people that are putting everything into it and spending a lot of money and putting a lot of attention to detail. But then I think that when the 90s rolled around and the Seattle music came on the scene, and we stopped singing about girls, girls, girls and partying, and just every rock album was essentially, the same. We had to have the power ballad on, again, and that was my stream of music. I certainly don't think that the pop music of the 1980s, I rejected it then. I really, I gravitated towards heavier music, and definitely became a fan of bands like, Tool, the Nirvanas, and the your Soundgardens, and et cetera, at Korn, moving into the nu metal era as the 90s rolled on. But it is kind of, as my friend Kelly describes it, there's sort of a Baroque sort of sound, right? I guess a lot of, it's a darker brand of music, and it's down, but the lyrics got very substantive, and it talked about things that were much more, about being existential, and trying to sort of maybe raise awareness or raise the vibration of what it is that we were talking about. But it's all very, very critical, and I think that certainly we're not better today about not being critical. We're living in a world where people are at each other's throats. And, unfortunately, that cynicism didn't bring, sort of shine light. You would have hoped that it would have shined a light on society, and then we would find solutions, and hopefully maybe a critical mass of people would, that's what I think I would hope for, is we're never going to be absolutely unified, unfortunately, unless if we are ever fully unified, woe be as us, because the only way that there's complete unification, would be a one world unified totalitarian government. That's the only way it happens. It doesn't happen by everyone locking arms and singing Kumbaya and I'd like to buy the world a Coke. It's just never going. That's not real. That's not real. Just I've mentioned this before. Star Trek. The Star Trek is wonderful, but the ideas that people have that like somehow there's a utopian world around the corner where everyone just sort of we forget about money and we just all come. That's not reality, and I do point out like. The captain on those ships is living a better life than the guy scrubbing the toilet. I'm sorry, just because you say that there's no money doesn't mean there's not a hierarchy in a society, and that people, at the end of the day, people are very concerned about. They're concerned about having credit. They're concerned about, and I don't mean financial credit. I mean people want to know that they are. They want to be compensated for their skills, for their output. They want to be recognized, I was just watching, as a matter of fact, my wife and I have been watching, we went back and we were watching 6 Feet Under. This is a perfect example, right? Because you think of the most liberal-minded people, those people that, are like artists. So if you're familiar with 6 Feet Under, the youngest, it's, if you're not familiar with 6 Feet Under, in a quick nutshell, it's about a family that has lived and grown up in a mortuary. There are 2 older sons. The entire show begins when the father dies. The one son has been living in Seattle. The father goes to pick him up. He's arriving for Christmas. The father goes to pick him up at the airport, but he gets hit by a bus on the way to the airport. And so the remainder of the show, that's like episode 1, the remainder of the show is all about this family living in a mortuary. And the 2 older, the son from Seattle kind of joins, in the wake of his father's death, he joins the family business, and it becomes, it's 5 seasons of them, burying people, but it's really obviously about the characters and the family. And the reason that I sort of was bringing that up is the youngest child is a daughter. So we've got 2 sons and a daughter. The daughter's name is Claire, and Claire throughout the whole thing she's really she hates, she's every episode it seemed like there was a cause for her to storm out of her room saying, why does everybody in this family this, that, or the other, and she's always, she feels marginalized and discontented, and yet she's really living a very good, privileged, white, middle-class life. And, it's that, she's very hard to get next to as a human being because she's so critical, and then, sort of tries to find herself as an artist. And so the middle and later seasons, she decides that she is an artist, and she goes and becomes, she goes to an art school where she's like into photography, and there's a sort of an arc that really lasts for a while. She has a boyfriend played by actor Ben Foster, who she meets in art school, and he gives her an idea, or he starts doing something with photographs where he tears them up and they kind of make collages out of these photographs. And this becomes a thing that gets Claire a bit of notoriety. It earns her some cred in the local art community, and she, lands her first art showing, right? Because, she's doing all of these pieces. But, I think you would think that, like, these are the people, she's hip, she wants to be hippie and communal, and people act like that would work, but her boyfriend, who's supposed to be an artist, and again, they're very, very critical of society, and they're having a very tough time getting along, it becomes a horrible, like he has this terrible meltdown about credit. The fact that, she's making these pieces, and this original idea just sort of came out of a thing that he did on a very spur of the moment deal about tearing up these photographs to create a collage, but she really evolves it. And, eventually at some point she comes around to after a lot of bad feelings between the two and separate, at some point they sort of reconcile, not as boyfriend girlfriend, but they reconcile just enough where she says, you know, I should have given you some credit there. But I think, you know, the irony there is in thinking that, like, again, a centralized, planned, communal way would be anything. It cannot be, because this is the essential nature of people, right? Even the most liberal-minded people, you know, in a sort of theoretical way, oh yeah, it's lovely to think of, you know, again, the world coming together just out of agape love, which is unrealistic when people really demand, like, you know, again, their insecurities and their fears, but also, you know, the demand for credit about things. And it's really prevalent amongst liberal-minded but artistic people, right? That, you know, it's not enough that the work gets out there. You know, that it also must have arrows that point back to me and my ego. And, you know, whether that's expressed through compensation, through money, or whether that's expressed because you ascend to the rank of captain and have the most plum, you know, you've got the most plum quarters, and you know, everything is more luxe for you. It doesn't matter whether or not you shuffle money around, right? People are going, you know, you want it. It's inescapable, and it's an inescapable part of life. And I didn't really sort of intend on you know, I guess this sort of, you know, devolved here into a bit of a rant about social commentary, but you know, sort of is what it is, I guess. Man, you know, so I'm sorry, but, you know, so yeah, so, you know, this is why all of these videos have sort of ballooned a bit. I got off onto a bit of a tangent. I was, I think, starting to say, you know, that I had begun these videos as an ongoing documentation of my personal weight loss journey, and that is kind of a subset to a overall personal evolution towards taking control of my own happiness, towards taking control of my own personal evolution, towards, you know, realizing that, you know, having those insights that I guess that I was talking about in that rant about, you know, as critical as we may want to be of our society, it kind of also may, unfortunately, be the best, you know, I think it sort of does represent the best of what is possible, and that's my focus. It's not that criticisms of society, criticisms of our institutions aren't valid. It's that we should hold them in our heart, but, you know, kind of keep a higher commitment toward our own personal happiness, and that understanding that really, you know, to have the perspective about what it is about the world that's not exactly as we would like it to be, but to embrace that true, you know, really to embrace that think globally, act locally, but acting locally should come from a place of love. Now, when I say should, I mean should, provided that what you know, what, depending on what your goals are. I mean, that's really, you know, the bottom line, I think, of anything is, you know, you can really poo-poo things for not being the utopian vision, or you can deal with reality and realize, well, maybe I've got to just make some concessions to what is possible. By aligning who you are, aligning your goals, aligning your with you know, with, first of all, with progress. I'm looking at this book. I put this camera on a little stack of books to give it a better angle, because you know, otherwise you'd be looking up my nostrils. and that's not a good look. So I'm looking at a book by a gentleman named Jeff Olson called The Slight Edge, which was a really good read for me. It was, and I think it's probably, The Slight Edge, turning simple disciplines into massive success and happiness. Now, is that a Republican screed? Is that a very conservative, money focused? Well, I think that there's a middle ground, I really do, honestly. The Slight Edge is simply about, look, whatever it is that you want to achieve, the message of the book is sort of remembering that on the way to the moon, the spaceships, the capsule going from, Cape Canaveral or wherever the heck it was that they launched, when they went to the moon, they're on course about 3% of the time. And it's all about, maintaining awareness and making these slight adjustments, right? And that's it, right? That success, and it's the same whether it's personal success for any kind of an organization, a company, a country, the human race. I mean, really, honestly, if you can't demand that everything be perfect all at once. We make progress, little by little, by little by little. And the next thing you know, you went from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain, however that works. So, I guess, again, be critical, but then try to find that place in your heart where you can be happy. Because, again, life is a journey. There is no final, right? There's no final goal where we all sit there and go, all right, we're here. This is it. Nirvana. Boom. We've achieved utopia. That's it. We can stop trying now. Like, that's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's not a thing in your life as a person. It's not a thing for any business that you may be looking to do. It's not a thing for me as a writer. It's not a thing for for us as a society. So demanding perfection is always going to end up causing you heartache, because harkens back to me talking about the problems in adapting a book to movies, right? It's, if you demand that perfection, you're always going to be disappointed. If you focus on that you're making the progress, then you're always kind of a bit heartened, and there is a room to be happy in this world. Be happy, because happy people that are focused on making the progress are really the only way, in reality, how progress is going to happen. So, I mean, maybe we do need voices of people that are horribly discontent and are never happy with themselves, happy with life, happy with society, happy with institutions. I guess hearing those voices keeps the rest of us motivated towards goals that are worthwhile, making it a better world. But again, I say that I'm making a personal evolution. Believe me, however critical you may be of society, critical of me, whatever, critical of people that aspire or achieve or build business. However cynical you are, I've been there. That's who I was in my 20s, and why it is that I'm now 50 years old and I'm not somebody who's made it very far in the corporate world or anything along those lines. And yes, I feel like I am living. I'm extremely fortunate to be living a best version of my life today. I'm blessed by who I'm married to, and that she's passionate about education and has, built a career based on helping thousands upon thousands of students throughout her, both as a literature professor and then moving into higher levels of administration and et cetera. My wife, her career continues to expand. It continues to open up opportunities for our family, and it makes it possible for me to sit here and rant into a camera once a week as part of my communication. So again, shockingly, somehow this turned into a 30-plus minute video when I didn't really even have that much I was thinking about saying this week. I will, again, so personal evolution and the sort of order of business at this point from week to week is to continue to document my weight loss progress or lack thereof. I think what I intended to sort of touch on before I started the video was, for my weight loss, we're involved. I'm again in kind of a limbo weight loss. Those of you that have tried to engage in weight loss as part of your, improving your health or for cosmetic purposes, whatever it is. But if you had a significant amount of weight to lose, then you're familiar with the sort of boom and bust cycle of, having good weeks and then having plateau weeks. And I've kind of been in a real... So July the 2nd was my birthday. Again, this is July the 16th. And so we're right at a 2-week mark here where I really haven't had significant weight loss in the 2 weeks, which is not to say that I haven't been on point with sticking with my dietary plan. I've talked about I'm using the Noom app. Again, for me, the logging of calories and being accountable for with the numbers, meal to meal, and also weighing in every day has been a good help. There are other aspects of Noom that I'm not as enthusiastic about, but I think probably, it's not to be critical, it's just they're not as helpful for me personally. And so, I on another week when I haven't already talked for 32 minutes, I may say more about that. I'm sure I will as time goes by. Last week, I think I had looked this up before starting the video, and now it's a little bit fallen out of mind. So last week, I think I must have reported in on July the 9th that I was at 228.4. This, as I say, in a plateau, I'm only this morning at 227.7, so down 0.7 of a pound from Friday to Friday. But believe me, that's not even anything. I mean, that's going back now. I've been a shade under 230 in about a 2 to 3 pound range for about 2 solid weeks. So and the scales are only so accurate. I don't even know that I can, I don't 100% trust them. I only look at them as being, I think it's sort of like when you do a poll, right? And they do a polls and they say these polls are accurate to within, so many percent or whatever, give or take. And I think that's kind of where I am with the scale, is that, yes, I see that it's sort of on a general downtrend. And so, you hope for that on a daily, day-to-day basis, that it'll be consistent, but it doesn't seem to be. And so, essentially the weight loss has been pretty stagnant since my birthday, and that had to do with, yes, I went out and celebrated my birthday, but ordinarily I have good results with having those occasional planned cheat days. The other day, as a matter of fact, my wife and I went to a restaurant here on island in Guam that somebody had given her a recommendation that the ribs there were particularly good. Well, ribs, I can tell you, barbecue ribs are not generally part of a healthy eating plan, but it is, something that you can go out and treat yourself to. And so, my wife and I had an opportunity for a date night, and we did that. So I kind of broke the diet, and I don't even want to call it a diet, because it really is. I should say I ate more unhealthy than I should on an ordinary day, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. So there's my message for you for the week regarding, it's staying the course. For me, my personal motto is do the work and trust the results. And that's exactly what I'm putting into practice right now. It's knowing that plateaus happen, and I'm sure I'm going to wake up, and it happens, right? I will stay the course, and then one morning I wake up and I'll be down like 2 pounds, insanely enough, from the day before, and maybe even and see some weight loss. So I'm sure as time goes by, I will report a week like, hey, had a great week, down 3 or 4 pounds or whatever since the last week. This week, not so much. And again, not so much going back for a couple of weeks now, but that's how plateaus work, how they happen. And so, all right, that's bringing you up to date for, again, my personal evolution here. Not a lot to report concretely. I'm having a good, exciting day, I will say that. So today I got a video given to me by, I won a festival with the fan fiction project that I'm working on. You can find it on Facebook. I've got a page for it. I'm just going to put it out there because it's not a commercial project, it's a fan fiction project. In addition to other things that I'm doing, I'm very passionate about the Superman films from the 70s. I grew up with them. They were really as much an inspiration for why it is that I wanted to get into screenwriting, where I fell in love with movies and became kind of conscious about a number of things with regard to storytelling in movies. And it sparked the imagination where Superman as a comic book character didn't necessarily, I was much more of a Marvel reading kid when back then, Spider-Man was my favorite kind of comic book character in my youth. Superman, I didn't, I think drawing a guy on the page looks the same as whether the character looks like it's standing or in the air. I don't know that, like the powers of Superman didn't necessarily speak to me from the page, but in 1978, when I was a little kid, there had been nothing like that on screen, and so it became a whole. So for me, I'm in that generation, and there's no way to convey to somebody who's young today and is growing up in this world where every other thing is a superhero thing, and it's all we've got this level of CGI. Where literally anything you can imagine you can put on a screen. That just wasn't the case. You'll never know what it's like to tune into a television show that's a documentary of how they did those special effects. That was appointment television for a kid who was 10 in the 80s, right? I born in 1970, so my birthday is very easy to. I'm always the year that it is, right? This is 2021. I am 51, right, from 1970. So in '78, I was 8 years old, and just defenseless, an 8-year-old kid who had never seen anything like believe a man could fly. So that infected my soul, and again, sort of informed who I wanted to be as a what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to write for movies. I wanted and I ended up sort of not doing that. It's a very common story, and that's part of what I'm looking to correct here, kind of in the late game, taking hold of my life. See, all of these things, they all fit into plan. They're all, it works like a puzzle. The animated Donnerverse is my project on Facebook, and I won a festival with the Fan Fiction Film and Screenplay Festival last year in 2020, and part of the prize for winning was that they were going to do a table read of the first opening scenes of it, and they made a video. And look, I don't want to ever just crap on somebody's efforts. It was they were sort of doing the best they could during the pandemic where I think ordinarily they would have actually brought actors into a place together, and maybe the video would have been just actors with the script and performing the opening scenes, and their solution as things were shut down with pandemic was to sort of have everybody record their parts separately and then edit it together, and then they used some stock photos to try to give some impression of what was going on. But I mean, I don't, not to be unkind, that just the stock photos that they found at the time were just very inappropriate and didn't capture at all the essence, and didn't really give it, you know, they detracted, you know. I mean, my story for that project, the animated Donnerverse, the first film that I was looking to make with it is called Superman 1983 Collector of Worlds. For those of you who are Superman aficionados, if you know, when I say Collector of Worlds, you know that that's reference to Superman's classic villain, Brainiac. And as a matter of fact, even as I've been putting this project together, DC Comics has decided to revisit the Batman from 1989 and Superman from 1978 with some limited release one-off comics adventures. And I know that in their Superman 1978, they were also doing something with Brainiac. Mine is a very, very different version. I think I'm going to, just sort of humbly say, I haven't seen the comic. All they're looking to do is a comic. I want to do an animated film that really stands alongside the first two Superman movies, and sort of create a third film that rounds out a trilogy with those first two stories. And so if you look for Superman the Animated Donnerverse on Facebook, I've today, again, July the 16th, 2021, posted a link to the new video, which, although it's not, specific to the visuals that we're looking to attain, they did a very, very good job. I'm very, very pleased with the new version of the table read video that's got, obviously the language that I've written, but against images that kind of carry the feel much better. It's a much more polished effort, and I'm very happy with it. And as I move forward, hopefully that will be something that connects with and for people. So I thank you very much for listening to me. Again, I did not anticipate another video of this length, but that's what it is. Hopefully you found it entertaining. I thank you very much for joining me and watching. And I know that it's an unedited, rambling stream of consciousness. Hopefully you hung with it and it made enough sense and was entertaining enough. This thing will continue to evolve, week to week. Look for me on medium.com. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Again, as I go forward here, this is where to find, eventually there'll be substantive news as things go along. But, again, we're in the infant stage. This is the zygote stage of the Guamanian winter Russ Phillips experience, so maybe someday these things, again, this is more for posterity. They'll be of interest at some point to someone, but as of right now, it's week to week. This is me talking about the things that I'm all about, and I thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Until next week, you have a great week. Thank you very much.